Yellow.
I like your viewpoints on the systemic racism.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I want to know how you figure that systemic racism is a thing.
Because we can see clear disparities between black and white people, specifically in education, in healthcare, in the criminal justice system, in the housing market. And these disparities exist due to systemically racist policies from the past that have just like sort of infiltrated the way that like every system in the country operates.
But how? Like,
I mean, that's a long question. Like, I can
and I,
give like
what I
a
mean,
2 hour history lesson. If you be more
right?
specific, I can
No.
give you more specifics.
So I mean, like, when it comes down to jobs or education, jobs, housing, you think that it comes down to racism? That's some.
Systemic racism, specifically white supremacy. Yeah.
So, hold on, sorry. So, white supremacy still exists in 2023.
Uh, yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
white people are still superior.
White supremacy doesn't mean that white people are superior. It means white people think they're superior and will
Right.
enact policies in order to um, try to maintain political, social, or economic power.
Okay. So, real quick, got a question. I would say, I'm asking, you're black and white.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both the same. Have you really ever like been like oppressed when it comes down to like education or going to get a job?
Have I been?
Yeah, like have
Possibly.
you? I'm just wondering.
I don't know every reason
Possibly.
why I've never been hired for a job, possibly.
Okay,
But I
so
don't think my
that's
one singular experience negates statistical and empirical data showing
no,
that
that's of course, but it's the fact that uh like I'm obviously black. I have black friends. I've had this conversation with so many people, and I just actually had a conversation with this guy because he had said the same thing about how he could possibly, based on his race, not get a job. And I said, okay, well, in 2023, that's not the case at all. In 2023, my nigga, oops, excuse my language, some people don't like that, but in 2023 you're gonna easily be able to get this person's uh company taken down. If you need to, you could sue a school in 2023 because there's always going to be that proof. Now if there wasn't proof, then how would you know it's not racist? Or if how would you know it's
wait,
racism? You know what I
just
mean?
really quickly, none of this addresses the empirical data on these things. So, for instance, we've there have been multiple studies done that show that if you have a resume that's the exact same, but one name on the resume is traditionally black sounding and the other name is traditionally white sounding, the resume with the traditionally black sounding name gets called back significantly less for job interviews. Like we have just empirical
I
data to show that.
Okay, so I'll just have to look that up, obviously. But when it comes down to it, like education and all this, think of the HBCUs, think of the scholarships that people get just for being not white. You know what I
White
mean?
people receive the bulk of both merit based and need based scholarships. White people get the
But
bulk of
they,
them.
but the thing is the high horse that black people are on today. And I
What
cannot
high
say that
horse?
there is. The thing where they think that they should get what's it called? Uh, not redemption. Starts with a R. Reconciliation.
Reparations.
Yes, that. Duh.
You think black people aren't owed
Yes, they do believe
reparations for
it. Yes,
400 years of
yes. For no, they feel. A lot of black people feel as though they should be treated differently when it comes down to white people. They should get treated differently because of their
we are
ancestors.
inherently treated differently.
And I'm not talking about that. I'm saying reconciliation. Yes, thank you so much because that's the fucking word. Excuse my language. Jeez.
You think
Anyways, um,
reconciliation?
or what's reconciliation?
That's like coming to an agreement.
Ah,
You reconcile
never
with
mind. I
someone.
remember the word I used. Never mind. I'm bugging. But anyways, I I know what I'm trying to think of though. It's on the top of my tongue, or tip of my tongue. But no, I'm
You're
talking
thinking of
about like
reparations.
it is reparations, is it?
Yes. You don't think the black
Oh,
community is owed reparations for 400 years of oppression?
hell no, hell no. You want to know why? Because Is that what's happening to us today? No. I could easily go out and get any job. You feel me? Like I could go be a teacher. I could go do this, that, and the third. I
Do you
could
know what the wealth gap is between black and white Americans?
oh yeah, tell me. Go ahead,
White
tell me.
Americans' wealth, the median household wealth of white Americans is $171,000. Just take a guess
Uh-huh.
what the median black wealth is.
Well, I can't. You could tell me though.
$9,000.
Oh, okay. So I want to know the statistics on that because if it really comes down to the well, have you seen the statistics on the poor black Americans when it comes down to most of the men in these young men's lives that up and leave. So then these women have to take care of these children on their own,
So
and then
just
then
FYI, the myth of fatherlessness in the black community has been like disproven multiple times.
that's not
Specifically,
the case.
hold on, let me explain something really quickly. So when we try to come up with fatherless numbers, the numbers that we're giving are unmarried families. So you would call a household fatherless per the census if the mother and father are not married. That child is now considered fatherless, even though per a report done by the CDC, black fathers are of all the races are the most likely to not only cohabitate with their children, but be involved in their children's lives. Black fathers are the ones that are the most
Huh?
likely to do that. Yeah, it's in my link tree
Oh
in my
my
bio.
goodness. I literally just, I don't know what, I just had a conversation with somebody and I had to just pull this shit up. I have to literally find it because I need to write this down because that is literally not the case at all,
It
actually.
is. I can pull the report up.
These black men, okay, these black men, are literally these black families, and it's sad, of course, but it's like people think that it's oppression when it comes down to black people not having money. No, it comes down to laziness, and I'm not saying it's a cultural thing because I did see that in the
Well,
comments. I'm looking at the
it
comments
would
too.
have if you're saying that the reason why all like the entirety of the black race in America is so far behind white people is a cultural thing that's inherently racist, and
That's not a
it's
cultural thing.
specifically a well, wait, there would be no other unless it's either biological or cultural, or it's systemic racism.
No,
Those are
it's
the
not.
only three
No,
things
it's
it can be.
actually no. Actually, it could be a chain. You know what I mean? It could be a chain that these people are not trying to break. So if it's
Why would
if
all of them
this
not be trying to break the chain?
because why is it that these young black men are out here instead of working a 9 to 5, they're out here shooting each other? You feel me? Why is that the case?
Because
Why is
poverty
that?
breeds crime.
Okay, so then why are they poor though? Why is that the case?
because
Why?
because for 400 years we were not
Oh my
allowed to
goodness, no, you
accumulate
cannot go to
wealth.
400 years. We
Wait,
are in
wait.
2023.
I already explained to you the wealth gap. Where do you think that wealth gap came from?
Right.
Do you think just all of
Obviously when
these
it
things
comes
happened and then as of 1990 where most of these policies were finally written away, now all of a sudden the past 30 years we're good to go. We're able to now just zoom up to where white people are after 30 years, even though
yes.
prior to
Right
that
now,
30
yes you can.
years we were barred from owning property, barred from owning land, barred from getting good educations, barred from working good jobs. We were barred from all of these things. We weren't allowed these things, but
That's
now
not
we
the
should
case
just be
now.
able to. Do you think 30 years is enough time for the entire community to just get over all of that? Let me ask
Get
you a
over all
question.
of it.
Let me ask you
Get
a
over what?
question.
The rape, the slaves, the slavery, or
Slavery is not
the
the only thing that happened.
I, I
Slavery
know
is
that, but I'm
the
saying
stepping
like
stone. It's the starting point. It's the starting
right,
line,
and
but it's
then
not
the
the ending. It's not the
segregation, and then
finish.
the oppression. Like
Let me
obviously.
ask you a question. If I have a grandmother who was black, who was not allowed to own property because she grew up in the 30s during redlining, right? She just
Mhm.
wasn't allowed to own property. So she was forced into government created slums, right? So she's now living in poor areas that the government literally created and has owned up to creating time and time again, right? She now has a daughter. That daughter's growing up incredibly poor. So that daughter's not allowed to go off to college because they have to pay to live. So instead of going to
Mhm.
college, that daughter is now working straight out of high school, working dead end jobs because she doesn't have a proper education outside of high school. She then has me. I now grow up poor because she grew up poor. Now maybe I can get to college, but
You said in what year?
I'm living in an area where they all live, which has poorer schools that are underfunded.
And
So I
I
have
was gonna get to that too.
Well, I just want to know how we're supposed to break the mold when we're forced
But
into
that's
an.
the thing. So I wanted to get to that too. My bad. You can talk.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so obviously when it comes down to this shit, it's never black and white. You feel me? Um, it's never ever ever black and white. But and like I was just having this conversation when it came down to like mothers do like staying in a household where anyways you could always figure out something because if you put your mind to if you know that you need to do this that and the third or get to some you know what I mean you can do it.
This is
There's
called
never that
survivorship bias.
but when it comes down to the people that live in certain places where like a job isn't in walking distance or like there's not good jobs or there's not good that's a different story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're.
That's a different story.
That's where
But
most
when
black
it comes
people were
down to
forced to
systemic
live.
racism, I don't think that's a thing. I do not believe that's a thing because I know that I can get any job, I can go to any school, I can get a scholarship. And it's really based off of my skin color, which a lot of people think that oh these scholarships and these this that and the third that we're getting is oh because it's like we're getting it for having to deal with being oppressed in the 19
I mean, I'll
hundreds, this,
just
that,
say
and
it
the
again.
third.
White people receive the bulk of scholarships. We aren't getting
Okay,
the
so I'll just
bulk of
have
the
to see that.
scholarships.
But that
Link
I
the
don't
link
think
tree.
that's the
It's
case.
the stat is in my bio, in my
Because
link
I
tree in my
looked, and
source
that's okay.
documents.
I'll look at the statistics because I looked at that like months ago. I was watching a debate and I had to look it up for myself, and I saw it. I was like, that's crazy because the fact that these
In fact, I'll just
that we
pull it
have
up. I'll
these
just pull it up for you.
colleges for ourselves and the fact that we get these colleges for ourselves and this that, and the third but not only that me living in life myself right me and just I see how white people literally act towards black people. They literally say they try and put themselves down because they know how black people feel, right? I have so many white people that even my black friends, even me just being light skinned, they'll say they'll try and put themselves down like oh I don't even like white people, I don't even like my own race, or oh yeah I wish I was black, or oh this, that, and the third. I'm like, girl, just love yourself for how you are. You feel me? Like you're white, you're cool. This person's that race. This, you know what I mean? It should never be a thing. But when it comes down to like the system, I don't think that at all because I have talked to any person that I know that's black when we've had this type of conversation
It
and
sounds like you got
nobody
all
can
your
say
information from anecdotal evidence instead of actually looking
no,
at.
not just outside. I'm saying, but I can use my outside um people sources and also use the statistics as well. You know what I mean?
So just to give you some stats and information,
Girl is so
white
privileged. I'm
people.
definitely not
I,
privileged.
are you talking to the comments or are you talking to me?
Yeah, just real quick.
Great. So white students receive 59% of need-based financial aid and 76% of merit-based financial aid.
Financial aid.
Yes, that would be scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
Scholarships, loans. They receive
Right. Yeah. Well,
seventy-six
duh.
percent of the merit-based ones,
Okay.
and then 59% of the need-based ones. So they're receiving the bulk of financial aid for education,
Mm-hmm.
not minority populations.
Hmm. I wonder why. Why it says that, and it's definitely not, and I can't say it's based on racism because when it comes down to this that and the third you have to look at you can't just look at this and say oh it's based on racism. That you can't like how and
It's
today
not
how
wait.
today
So when we look at something as systemically
excuse me oh my
racist,
goodness it's
we
so
don't just
disgusting.
look at one thing. It's a combination of a lot of different things, and then you have to go back to see how these things started. For instance, do you know how education is funded? Like like school age education. Do you know where schools get the predominant amount of their funding?
Sorry, what did you say? My bad. Huh? There what?
Do you know where
My bad.
schools get the bulk of their funding for education?
No, you could tell me.
Property tax.
Oh,
So when
okay.
you own
Right.
property, you pay taxes on said
Yep.
property. The more
Right.
expensive the property, the higher the taxes. The lower the property, the lower the taxes.
Of
Uh,
course.
Businesses have like caps. There are caps for like large scale apartments, things like that. Right now, one group of people have been allowed to own property for a lot longer. So they were able to accrue very large, very nice property for almost nothing. White people were
Mhm.
given land and property from 1930 all the way up to 1970, whereas
Well, of
black
course.
people were forced out of property and into inner city apartments. Now,
Right.
guess who pays more
But that would
property
have been based
tax?
on
That would have been what?
that. That's just consequences from back then, but that's not going to be like racism that would be now. If you know what I
Wait,
mean, like
wait. If black people were not allowed to own property, therefore most
back
of them have now
then.
lived, hold on, most of them now live in apartments in the intercities, right?
Yep.
Who's going to have the lowest funded education? The people
Of
that were
course,
given familial properties or the people that weren't?
of course, of course, if these black people are in places where it's going to be more poor, of course, but that's going to be based from back then, right? If it's going to be,
How do you think
that would be
systemic
based from
racism
back
works?
then,
Do you think systemic racism
right?
is
Of course,
overt
of
or do
course,
you
of
think
course,
it's
of course.
covert?
But the systemic racism, and I wish I had my fucking computer right now because I can't even whatchamacallit to look it up. But systemic racism, it it's not only about like, hold on, let me say what I was about to say because I hate losing my train of thought. First off, when it comes down to the, like you said, the white people getting land and this, that, and the third, that's from back then, right? Yes, of course, that's going to lead into today, but the racism that comes down to abilities, any racist ability in this world, that's not a thing.
You don't
That's
I
not
don't
a
think you
thing
know what
because,
systemic racism means.
okay, you can read me the definition real quick. I don't even know if
So
I can leave this.
so systemic racism means that there are things ingrained in the system. There's
Mhm,
not explicit. They wouldn't be explicit
mhm,
because obviously explicitly racist policies usually get dealt with pretty easily. These are
mhm,
implicitly racist. They're not going to outwardly say, "Hey, we're attacking
mhm,
black people," but they're going to attack the disparity. They're going to say, "Hey, we see that it's the same thing they did with the war on drugs. We see that black people are less likely to own property. Therefore, let's make education be paid for via property tax. That way, we know that black people statistically are going to receive worse educations because they're not
mhm,
going to be in areas with high property value."
mhm,
This is not explicit. This is not written into law, but it's using the
mhm,
disparities and those, because those
mhm,
disparities still exist and because it's still funded this way, it's still systemically racist. If we want to have a non-systemically racist way of funding education, every student in America should get the same dollar amount for their education. Every school should get the same amount per student. It shouldn't be based on
mhm.
property tax. That's how we get systemically racist.
Thank you, Boo.
Okay, yeah, I still I understand. I completely understand, you know what I mean? But I can't see where it comes down to, and I hear what you're saying, of course. I just don't see when it comes down because people will use this, that, and the third, whatever. I don't think that I just don't think that that
What
is
about what
the
about
case
what I
that comes
just
down to it.
explained? What about what I just explained didn't
The
click in?
grandmas,
The what?
what'd you say? Sorry, my bad.
What about what I just explained didn't make sense?
Hmm? Oh, about the definition? I
Just
didn't say
anything I just said. I don't know how I just explained really clearly how this all works. And you said, well, I see that, but I still don't understand. Like
No,
what's
I hear exactly what you're saying. I see it, right? I hear exactly what you're saying, but I'm talking about like the racism aspect. Like I hear exactly what you're saying, but and that's completely fine. But I would literally have to like look the when it comes down to cuz hold on, sorry. I'm trying to take this nail off, my bad. Um my bad. You said what'd you say? I'm not going to lie.
yeah, it seems like you're not listening.
Yeah, no, that's my bad because I wasn't for a second. But I still don't believe that systemic racism is really like a thing when it comes down to um us in 2023. I don't think that's a thing. Like I just don't. I don't think that the racism when it comes down, especially more black people being oppressed. I don't think that like yes, when it comes down to of course there's going to be chains that obviously have to be broken. But yeah.
Okay. Do you think that the criminal justice system is set up to inherently
Oh yeah, and the
harm black
ACAB. I wanted to
people?
talk about that too. Sorry, because I wasn't even looking at the screen.
Just do you think that the criminal justice system is inherently designed to harm black people?
To what?
To harm black people.
I don't think that.
Okay. Do you know that when it comes to pulling over people in their cars, black people are pulled over at like significantly higher rates than white people until the sun goes down, and then that rate
Hmm.
evens out when cops can no longer see who's driving?
Mm.
Why would that be?
I don't know. You have to talk to the cop.
Well, I know why it would be. It's because the cops have racial bias, so they pull over black people more because they assume black people are committing more crimes. I know why they do that.
Of
I'm
course, there's
asking
gonna
you
be
why you
cops like
think
that,
they do that. Well, not
but of
not
course
there's going
there's
to be
gonna be.
some there's not some cops like that. This study
Of
they
course,
studied
not every cop.
95 million traffic stops and found disparities up to like 33 to 1 in terms of black people getting pulled over comparatively to white people. That's not a little
Okay.
bit. That's a lot.
So of course there's gonna, and I understand that you think that like the whole system. And oh yeah, I was gonna say because when I first joined, you said something about the cops. You said something about uh, what'd you say? You said something about how they all cops are bastards or some shit, and how they all
Bastardized.
oh yeah, whatever, and how they all we don't need cops or something like that, right?
We should abolish the police and prison system as we currently know it today, yes.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but you know, everybody got their opinion when it comes down to something like that. Not all, and I don't think that all cops are what you call it because at the end of the day, I know a lot of cops that want to be cops to for the better. Like, of course, there's gonna be the people that um,
I don't really
are
care why
racist,
people
of
want to
course.
be cops. By being a cop, you engage in a system built upon oppression. You engage in a
I don't.
system that started as slave catchers. You
Oh, well,
engage
yeah,
in a
that could have been
system, you
the
engage in a
start.
system that disproportionately throws black men into jail.
Huh, and I want to know what those black men were doing. I want to know the evidence on that. But yeah, so obviously I don't believe that when it comes down to today, of course, there's going to be racist people. There's going to be racism. And that's why, like, people think that, like, yes, of course, racism exists, right? When it comes down to everything, racism is a thing. But not when it comes down to, like, your ability to go out and get a job. Like, there, I've never, no, who,
Already given you the facts on job acquiring.
right, I
I've
know,
already
but I'm
given
just
you the
saying,
facts on
like,
education.
right,
I've
and I'll
given
have
you
to look at
facts on
that up because,
it's just a little frustrating when I can say, "Hey, here's a study, here's a study, here's a study. Here's empirical evidence that all this is happening." And you keep going,
right, and
"Well, I
that's
don't
great.
think it's happening."
No, I'm saying because of like, but I'll look at it myself. Like, obviously, I don't have a computer right next to me. You know what I mean? So I like to do my own research and stuff like that. But obviously, I'm just saying like, um, I'm just saying what I want to say on here, like my thoughts on it, like um,
Well, your thoughts
what I've
are
looked
based
up, what
on
I've looked up.
ignorance. Your thoughts are based on
But how do you
ignorance
figure that? But
because
how do you figure that?
because
Because
every time I bring
um,
something up, you go, "Well, I don't know about that. I haven't looked at that. I haven't researched that. I haven't looked that up. I need to research that. I need to do that." Which would mean you're ignorant on the subject. You haven't done enough research to actually know these things.
yeah,
So to be arguing this doesn't exist when you clearly have not done the research on it would be a willful ignorance.
on the systemic whatchamacallit, right, and that's why I'll probably actually be back on here, but I'm definitely gonna look at the systemic racism aspect and stuff. But yeah, because I've never like ever whatchamacallit, but yeah. So I mean, at least you were able to give me some education on that. You know,
Okay,
thanks.
sure thing.
And also like the ACAB, I definitely don't believe in that.
Okay.
But that's that's definitely my opinion. But yeah. But anyways, I'm gonna go because I have to go get ready.
All right then. I don't know how I can say here's this, 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 and they go, but I still just I don't know. I still don't believe.